Good morning, everyone. Not morning where you're at? That's okay, because you can have eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Welcome to episode 4 of Three Eggs Are Better Than One. I am joined as always with Matt M. and Brian Haremza. We want to thank you all for the positive feedback from last week. It was a rabbit hole that we definitely were excited to go into. We hope you really enjoyed the what if of Tom Brady and what he would be. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, we recommend you go back and listen to it or watch it, and be a friend and tell a friend, about the great new podcast. Three eggs are better than one. So we just celebrated the holiday season. Everybody here's in a fantastic mood. So what is your sunny side up of the week, Bryant?
Well, for me, my sunny side up is being thankful for repair services that work over the holidays. I came home on Thursday from Thanksgiving out at my mom's to realize that my fridge had decided to die while I was gone. So, trying to find a repair company to come out on Thanksgiving is a little tough. And then also finding one that would work on Friday, even tougher from there. So, we were able to find a place who was able to come in and take a look at it. Unfortunately, the fridge is dead, but at least we were able to get a confirmation and have somebody come take a look to see if maybe there were chances. So I'm thankful for people who decided to go out and work on Friday after the holiday and not enjoy a 4-day weekend.
To not be
Brad?
so sunny side up, I mean, what kind of cost comes with repair service on Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving?
Well, day after is not a holiday, so thankfully that doesn't matter. It's Thursday was when I called, they were wanting to charge extra for coming in on Thursday. I was like, well, no, I could just wait till Friday if you're gonna charge me like normal. We'll do it that way. I mean, it was already down, so it wasn't like bringing it in Thursday was going to fix anything. So, but I just waited till Friday. That's why I waited till Friday. I was like, we'll just wait and just have the normal cost. It's fine.
You always hear about those plumbing costs that come after hours. You know what I mean?
The after hours is where they get you. Yes,
I think that's what I should have done for a living. It's a shit job, but someone's got to do it. Eh,
exactly.
Anyway, I am thankful for so Thanksgiving night, evening, so kind of in between game two and game three. We're all just sitting on the couch at my sister's, and my sister suggested that she wanted to show me a YouTube clip about a comedian I don't know, and I'm sure you guys probably do. I'm a little out of touch with the comedians lately. Sebastian Maniscalco. Does you guys know who that is? Okay. I've never listened to him before. I've never watched him before. So we watched the YouTube clip of him talking about, um, how the pop in from before, at your house compared to the pop in now. And the description was just so perfect. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of a Rant and Stanton or a Hard Boiled, but I thought it was pretty funny. So we decided to turn the Netflix special on with him, and it was a really enjoyable time with all the generations there. Me and my wife and my sister and her husband, and then the kids in the background, and then my mom was laughing so hard she couldn't breathe, and she's 77 years old. So, and my dad too. So, I am thankful for that because that was something we did all together, and we laughed all together. And I don't think I've laughed like that in a long time. Like really, really laughed like that, where I was tearing up and my mom couldn't breathe. So, and some of it was just funny watching my mom watch it. So I am thankful that we were able to do something like that. Matt?
Yeah, I've heard of Sebastian. He's the big Italian humor guy, so of course, all the next generation folks in my family think he's like the most hysterical comedian ever. Um, yeah, he's pretty funny. I've been watching. This is not my sunny side up, but I recently discovered this guy, this comedian Nate Bargatze, who's it's not like he's new to the scene, but I guess I never really put a face to the name or anything. But I've been watching clips of him lately, and he's hysterical. So he's like my current like favorite comedian. So look him up.
All right.
So my sunny side up. Recently, my family and I attended a really fun event I wanted to share. It's called Nitro Circus. If you haven't heard of this, it's an arena event with bicyclists, skateboarders, dirt bike guys, and they set up giant ramps and stuff. And they do crazy, insane tricks. It's not like a competition, really. It's not like a race, like a supercross or something. Um, but the BMX guys will go out, go through the half pipe and do crazy tricks. They'll release the bike, they'll go flipping through the air. The bike will do a flip, and then they'll catch it and land on it. And then they have this one like really, really giant, super, super thin and skinny, very giant ramp. and they'll go down it with everything, with bikes, with skateboards. I think they brought a kayak out once and did it, tricycle. And of course, they're landing every time on this big giant cushion, like how you might see like the guys practicing snowboarding for like the Olympics or something. And I think my favorite part was, not every trick is designed to like just sort of land and stop. You kind of land and you keep going and you run out of room. So they built the wall out of like, foam or inflatable stuff. And half the guys just go crashing right into it at the end. It's like a safe landing, but it's just fun to watch them go smashing into it. So my son being, young guy, he loved it. It's always fun to watch the kids having fun. So Sunny Side Up, it was awesome.
Where was this at?
Nitro Circus. Oh, we're getting regional now.
Oh
Uh,
boy, I forgot there's rules. There's Nat M rules, everybody. I forgot.
no, it was at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. And I absolutely hate going to Long Island. So if I'm going there, I'm making some sort of sacrifice for my family or something, or going to a wrestling show.
What are the Long Island people like?
They're New Yorkers. They sound like they're from New York, like people on TV who you think like, oh, that's a New York accent. Like you might think that of me sometimes, even though I'm not from New York. I'm pretty adjacent. Um, I mean, I'll probably try to slip this into every episode, how much I hate the traffic. Getting in and out is terrible, bridges, tunnels, everything you can think of. Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, not a holiday. It's just, oh, it's always an absolute nightmare. I don't know if the people who live there quite think that. They're just immersed in it. They're just going from A to B within the island. There's a whole debate if it's you're supposed to say on Long Island or in Long Island. I don't know. That's what they're like.
So that comes back to me now. It's hard boiled time, and I got a lot here. I'm just trying to think about what order I want to put it in. We haven't little peek behind the curtain. We're recording the day before Riz actually comes out, so we've had about 10 days in between. All right, so Reese cups. I'm a big fan of Reese cups. I'm a big fan of Reese eggs. They're Reese trees, all of them. I love them. But then I have always, every once in a while, someone has to say to me, "Well, do you put them in the freezer?" Why do we have to put them in the freezer? Okay. So I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but when you make something really cold, it actually has less taste. Okay. That goes for anything. So I would rather have a room temperature Reese cup, a Reese cup that you just got at the store. It is tastier. It is softer and melts in your mouth. I don't know where we turned into this. Like we have to freeze them and it's so much better. It is not so much better. I'm going to be honest with you. I like a good IPA beer. I don't mind that being a little bit under the, like, I don't want it ice cold. I want to be able to taste it. And that's the same way with the Reese cup. I want to taste it. And if you put it in a freezer, it does not taste the same.
Okay, are we getting rebuttals on these boileds, or do you just go off and I just have to deal with it?
You are allowed to rebuttal. Don't worry. There'll be somebody on YouTube that'll want to rebuttal too.
Okay, first of all, it's Reese's,
Oh,
like
geez.
Reese, possessive.
This is the
Reese
third time he's done this to me.
apostrophe. It's not Reese's.
I didn't realize we were in English class
Yeah,
here.
Okay,
God,
it's
what are we
not
doing?
Reese's Pieces. Okay, clip this out for YouTube. It's not Reese's Pieces like everybody likes to say. It belongs to Reese. It's Reese's Pieces. Okay, Reese's, not Reese's. And you put any sort of chocolate bar or chocolate, peanut butter thing in the freezer. It tastes fucking amazing. And yes, I dropped the F-bomb on that because that's how good it is. You may
Disagree.
continue.
Disagree. Completely disagree. All right. So every year, yeah, on Thanksgiving Day, what do you watch, right? There's a parade in the morning, and there's 2 to 3 football games. It's just, I mean, now there's three. There used to be only two. And there's big halftime shows with these football games as well. I have to fight. I have to fight to get the parade on. I have to fight to keep from them changing the channel during the football game and for the halftime show. And I don't understand why. Okay. The parade is once a year. I'm not saying it has to be your favorite. You can talk through it. We don't need to study it. Okay. We're not taking notes. It is just something different that's on once a year. Is it a little corny and cheesy? Yes. But what else are you watching? You're just going to put the pregame on? Like, what else are we watching? What is the big deal about keeping this parade on for 2.5 hours while we do other things in the house once a year? I don't understand it. Second, the football game. I had to like basically hide the remote so I could watch Shabuzi at halftime of the Detroit game. Again, it's a big performance. Okay. And it's once a year. We didn't even get to watch the Cowboys game because they decided to put Friends on. Friends. Listen, I like to show Friends, but we can watch Friends any freaking time we want. I have seen the Brad Pitt, we're going to get into Friendsgiving in a minute. Friendsgiving episode enough times where I can recite it. I missed, I missed the halftime show of the Dallas game and the entire Dallas game because of that. I don't understand it. We can't just leave something on. We shouldn't be watching TV anyway. We should be talking and actually all background. It should just be background. Which brings me, unless you have a rebuttal,
I
Matt.
do. I do. We're gonna have to expand this segment on the outline every week. First of all, what was the halftime show for the Giants game?
Lainey, is it Wilson?
Yeah, I
Uh,
didn't.
country singer.
Yeah, at some point, I switched that off. I did see Shabuzi though for the first game, and I was astonished that my wife Sue had never heard that song before.
My father either.
She's she's pretty, on the up and up with pop culture and stuff like that. Loves music, and that's the sort of song where I've heard that song 500 times without trying. Right? I hear it in Salad Works. I hear it. It's just on
Mhm.
wherever I happen to step foot. Um, and she just never heard. I was astonished. Um, and my son watched the entire parade. I actually have friends who their family members have participated in the parade for
Yeah.
over 20 years. They were holding, oh boy, name some of the popular characters.
Woody Woodpecker.
No, it was
SpongeBob SquarePants.
it
The
wasn't.
Pillsbury Doughboy, also known as Poppin' Fresh.
It was like a Pikachu or
Oh
very
yeah, yeah, they're there too.
well-known character like that. Anyways, rebuttal end. I'm done with that one.
All right, so bring me to Friendsgiving. There. I don't know when this started. Okay, but I feel like it's been about 10 years, maybe a little more, maybe 15. Well, it's been ever since the friend episode was, so I guess it's over 20 years. But now it's like a big thing. So we did one at work on Monday, and I did not participate. I did not put in the money for it. And then I drove 7 hours on Friday back home from my sister's, and my wife said that there was a Friendsgiving at our friend's house. I'm like, what are you talking about? But we got home at 6. My daughter was out the door by 6:20 to go to that. And then my wife went at 7. I was not going. And they kept sending me uh, videos of saying, where you at, Brad? Where you at, Brad? First off, here's my problem with Friendsgiving. Are you really going to eat Thanksgiving food 3 times that week? Because that's the thing. On Thanksgiving Day, I mean, honestly, I don't eat turkey every day. I don't eat stuffing every day. It's once or twice a year that I have a Thanksgiving type dinner, maybe. I don't want it 3 times in a week. It's supposed to be special. It's supposed to be something unique. Now, if you're going to tell me you're going to have Friendsgiving and it's going to be different kinds of food, I might be involved. But you know what that is? That's just a party. Okay. That's just a party. So I'm out on Friendsgiving because it's just a reason to have a party. But as you're having that same food and it's ruining Thanksgiving for me, I'm out. I'm out on it. Anything?
I've rebutted enough. Maybe Brian wants to rebut this one.
I'm laughing too much. I'm good. You keep going, Brad.
All right. So finally, my sister's making gravy. Now, my sister did a lot of the cooking for this, and she's making the gravy, and she's telling us that there's something wrong with the gravy. Okay. So what do you mean? She goes, it's something wrong. And she keeps adding flour to it. And she says we shouldn't eat it because it might ruin our Thanksgiving. And she puts it with the Thanksgiving stuff inside of a glass measuring cup and puts it, but she's got a beautiful setup at home. But this out of place gravy next to all the other stuff that's in nice containers or nice, you know, warming containers and everything is just so out of place. And I said to her, I go, well, if you don't want us to have this so bad, what is it even doing here? You're saying that's going to ruin our Thanksgiving and you put it in this weird ass cup? I mean, you're bringing attention. You won't stop talking about the gravy. Okay. Get rid of the gravy. We'll just won't have the gravy. If the gravy is bad, we won't have the gravy. We can't have the gravy. The gravy is bad, but it's next to all the food anyway. So my nephew puts it on his plate. He goes, something's wrong with this gravy. Well, no shit. Oh, no shit. We were warned. It shouldn't even be out. Something's wrong. He goes, I don't even think it's food. Perfect. Now her 12-hour preparation of this dinner is ruined because you put the gravy out, even though you said we shouldn't have the gravy. You brought attention to something you didn't want us to have, but you left it there for us to have it anyway. Out. Hard boiled over.
Oh,
I know. You guys good?
I'm boiled. I'm boiled.
I'm boiled too.
That was great. 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 That was gre
I'm sure not everybody will think so, but that's okay.
Eh.
That brings us to Scotch eggs. So we have not done Scotch eggs on the show. That is the drink of the week, and this can be anything. So Matt, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you.
Scotch eggs drink of the week. As we have aforementioned, it is the holiday season. Been getting into the bourbon, and I wanted to talk about one of my favorite all-time bourbons, which is called Jefferson's Ocean. I'm going to give you a little. I'm gonna read this right from the website because I really liked their wording and everything, and it really captures the magic. All right, Jefferson's Ocean, 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof. Barrels of Jefferson's Ocean aged at sea bourbon travel aboard ships that visit ports all around the globe. The constant motion of the sea churns the whiskey, increasing its interaction with the wood of the barrel. Extreme weather, ranging from the coldest of the coldest to the warmest of temperatures, hyper ages the liquid in ways no rickhouse could. Jefferson's Ocean aged at sea bourbon is aged at the mercy of the sea. Experience a voyage yourself. And you
Well,
know what? It's so good that on a recent episode of Shrinking, Harrison Ford's character was drinking it. And you know what? If it's good enough for Han Solo, then it is good enough for me.
I'm not allowed to have whiskey when my wife's around. I get emotional, but I do drink it when she's not.
Yeah, whiskey plus a music video or a commercial, the tears are coming.
Yeah, the tears are coming. I'll start crying with the dogs all by myself.
What about you guys? Scotch eggs.
So I guess I'm next. I am not going to talk about alcohol. I'm going to complain again. Okay. So I am a big 7 Up fan, I guess. And I recently saw that there is a Shirley Temple 7 Up. So I think it's temporary because it better be. And I like Shirley Temples, actually. If you're not going to have an alcoholic drink at like a hibachi type restaurant or something like that, I like my kids all get the Shirley Temples there. They're homemade dish, and they like that with the cherries in it and everything. Very good. So I get the Shirley Temple 7 Up and I pour it, and guess what it tastes like? I can't tell the difference between that and cherry 7 Up at all. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a slight difference, but there's not a slight enough difference that you had to create this whole new product for it. I'm a big thumbs down on
You
Shirley
got
Temple
got.
7 Up.
You
Yeah,
got.
because actually the Shirley's you can't really find a time that the Cherry 7 Up's not on sale. It's always on sale for some reason. But the
So then
Shirley
it's
Temple
never
7
on
Up,
sale.
what?
If it's always on sale, then it's never on sale.
That's true. So thumbs down on the Shirley 7 Up. Not that I didn't like the taste of it. I just don't see the difference of it with that and Cherry 7 Up. So we're still half a bottle in my house, and I've had it for 2 weeks now because I'm a little irritated. I feel like I was taken. So Bryant, what's your Scotch eggs?
Jesus Christ.
As someone who works in the soda industry, that's usually how this works. It's usually an overproduction of something. They slap a new name on it and then they just pass it out. That's usually how this works. So Pepsi does the same thing with a lot of its sodas. So I know very well on doing that. So
Careful.
yeah. I'll beat that out later. Don't worry. For Scotch eggs, for me, for some odd reason, Sue has been on this kick of having a lot of cranberry juice around the house lately. And so for me, I've been mixing it a lot with my Crown Apple, making a nice cran apple drink kind of for the side. And it also kind of eats up a lot of our cranberry budget that we've got in the house for some reason. And it's just kind of an interesting taste because you get like, I can drink Crown Apple straight. I love the apple taste, but adding that cranberry in kind of gives it that little bit of a different kick that you're looking for. And it's a drink that, you're not really thinking about. So for me, that's kind of my Scotch egg is just drinking a lot of cran apples, I like to tell people. So that way I don't have to add the crown and seem like a drunk. So
Wait, so is it cran apple or cranberry?
it's cranberry juice,
Okay.
but I mix
You're
it
adding
with
it to the
apple.
Crown Apple.
Crown. Yeah, I'm mixing
Okay,
with
and
the Crown Apple.
I do have some Crown Apple. I think Sue goes away in January again, so maybe I will buy some cranberry juice and just see what we got going on. But I can't have it until then.
Recommend it.
Maybe I'll hop on down the parkway or the turnpike and
Yeah.
join you. I'll bring some of the peach, Crown Peach.
You're a different character with the Crown Peach. Cobbler it is.
Cobbler it is.
Before we move on, this is the perfect time to introduce the Three Eggs drinking game, which is every time Brad talks about how he enjoys Shirley Temples, which is at least once an episode, you drink.
Moving on. Matt, you have a segment this week that looks like it's all about
Yeah.
you. Brown eggs, which is less talked about moments. So, Matt, why don't you
All
take
right.
it away?
So this is going to be our wrestling segment of the day. Brown eggs, less talked about moments. So there's so many big moments in wrestling that we all know and love, and they're talked about and dissected and reviewed and repeated endlessly, and we're guilty of that too. I wanted to try to pick some out that were, maybe one level down that are just as great in our opinion, but maybe just not covered to death. And maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I feel about this particular moment. So, WWE Monday Night Raw, July 25th, 2011, in Hampton, Virginia. Just 8 days after the famous CM Punk match defeating John Cena for the WWE Championship at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in Chicago, John Cena beats Rey Mysterio to recapture the championship as the main event of Raw. However, during Cena's celebration, Living Colour's hit song Cult of Personality plays over the PA system, confusing Cena and the live crowd. Punk then walks out wearing his championship belt that he never lost to a rowdy ovation and a realization there's two champions now. There's a silent confrontation in the ring where each man holds up his title belt, claiming to be the real undisputed champion. Now, I was a huge, huge, huge Punk fan back during this time. Like everybody, I think it's a very tippy top moment when he beats Cena for the belt at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in Chicago. He leaves through the crowd. I mean, that was awesome. But then it was a little bit of what's going on in real life here. There was really a contract thing going on at that time. He wasn't on Raw the next night. They have this. They vacate the title. They have this tournament. Ray and Cena come out on top. Cena walks away with the belt, and then, what was going to happen? Boom. And on top of that, that was the debut of Punk using that music. I think up until then he was using his heavier Killswitch Engage music, which is a fantastic song in its own right. And that was a big moment for me. So much so that 3 years later, when I got married, that was actually my entrance music. When I walked out as the groom, I came out to Cult of Personality, the Punk version, which starts, with like the. So that's my less talked about moment. What do you guys think
All
of
right. I gotta start with the end. You came out to that song for your all right. So you came out
that?
to
I
that
did.
song for your wedding. So how much convincing went into that?
None, none. We picked pretty good music for our wedding. We were very heavily involved in all of the parts of the day what songs were going to be used, walkout music and first dance music, of course, and all that. So we actually went somewhat non-traditional. They wanted us to walk out in like I don't even think the groom always walks out. Sometimes the groom is just out there already. But we set it up so everybody could walk out. And I was nervous that day, not because I was getting married, wonderful wife, no issues there. I was nervous because I was throwing a huge party that I was, me and my wife were responsible for organizing, putting together. There's obviously a lot of money involved and a lot of planning and scheduling. Your whole family's there, all your loved ones are there, all your friends are there. It was pouring rain in the morning. We knew that the forecast was going to turn out okay, and it was a fall day, and it actually turned out to be beautiful because, all the leaves were changing, and it turned out to be a really foggy night. So we have amazing like fog pictures, which is like one in a million. But anyways, I was really, really nervous just because I'm throwing this big party. So the very first thing that happened was, and nobody knew the music selections besides me, my wife, and the DJ. So the groomsmen were going to come out first, five, six of them, whatever. And at the time, Sons of Anarchy was a very big deal. So we used their theme song. And it starts out a lot slower than just the snippets that's used on the show. So there's a little bit of build up and nobody really knew what it was. And then finally it kicks in and everyone was like immediately knows, oh, this is Sons of Anarchy. All my boys are coming out. And the maitre d, she turns around and she goes, "Oh my God, this is Sons of Anarchy. This is awesome." And from that moment on, I was like, I'm good. I was no longer nervous. And then I came out to the punk music, and then we nailed it from there. It was a great wedding. I don't know how we got this far into. That was
Yeah,
down the
we're
rabbit.
not talking about the moment anymore.
Yeah.
Now we're
That was
talking.
down the rabbit hole.
Did you drop to a knee and do the check your watch thing as
Oh
well?
my God! I should have said it's clobbering
You
time.
should have. Yes.
Oh, that's see, that would have gone. Yeah. See, at least people know. At least the non-wrestling fans know what the song is. I don't know how much they're gonna know if I do you know, a catchphrase from wrestling. So then, all right, one more thing. So then after the ceremony and the cocktail hour, the DJ introduces everybody to the dance floor. And I did come out wearing the Smoking Skull belt, which I do have over here, but it's buried. I'll bring it out another time. But yep, the Smoking Skull belt made an appearance at the wedding too.
I totally believe that you were very nervous about throwing a party and all the planning that went into that. That
Yeah.
I believe
I
100%.
mean, it was the most money I'd ever spent at one time, probably,
I
right?
just know how you are about scheduling, ledgers,
Oh boy.
and everything else. So I agree that I'm not surprised. Brian, you have anything to say about that moment though?
It was a good moment. Something you didn't expect. I when the music hit, like for me, I knew because he came out. Like I thought it was something different. I'd seen Punk come out to that in Ring of Honor before, so because that was when he did his heel run through there. But like when it plays, I immediately go, "What are we doing?" And then when he comes out, you're like, "Oh, okay, now this is something." My only wish for that moment was I wish it had been longer. Like Punk was away longer than a week,
Longer waiting. Yeah.
longer waiting period than just
Could have done
he's
another week. Yeah.
yeah, could have. I mean, I would have liked to see him gone for like at least a couple months and then just
Yeah.
reappear. But it's still a great moment. It's one that I look back on as I feel bad for Rey Mysterio in the moment though because he
Yeah.
wins the title to start the show and then he just loses it to Cena
Yeah.
at the end of the
And
night.
that's the
So
only time he had that title, I believe.
yes,
Yeah. Which is
So
like, that's the lineage of the original title, that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will take this from it, and we'll move on from here. But I would say that anything with Punk, you don't really know what's real and what isn't, especially what we've seen over the last couple of
I
years.
mean, that's what makes him
mm-hmm.
one of
So it
my
makes him
favorite,
great.
you
Yeah,
It
know?
is what makes him great. So yeah, very good moment there, Matt. That was great. Guess whose turn it is, huh? It only took 4 episodes, but we finally have arrived down the rabbit hole with.
Wait,
Oh,
wait, you're skipping.
I'm skipping it. I'm
You're
skipping ones. This is what happens when I get excited.
I tell you what, this is about as far away we've gotten from the outline today.
All
We
right.
did this one in pencil.
Okay. So actually, we are going to go to hatching instead because I skipped a line, right, Madam?
You skipped.
And if you guys don't remember what hatching is what are we watching? Man, I was really excited, Brian. I'm sorry, I just ruined that moment.
It's never
we're
gonna. There's
good.
gonna be an earthquake or something in the next 2 minutes, and there's Brian's never gonna get to go.
We're good.
Brian, what are you watching? What are you watching now?
For me, I'm a little slow in my watching, so I am finishing up the series Doom Patrol on HBO Max. It is another one of those DC Universe X-Men style shows with a bunch of different characters with their superpowers that they gained not by birth but through forms of accidents. And it's got to me a great cast. Stars Brendan Fraser, which I did not realize until I got into the show that he'd been gone out of the limelight for so long, and Doom Patrol is really what kind of helped get his resurgence going, helped him win an Oscar. But for me, Doom Patrol, I do love that kind of the DC universe and X-Men and all that stuff. And unfortunately, this was their final season, so I'm just kind of trying to close the chapter on this story and see how the stories play out.
I have not. I don't know anything about it.
It's based off a comic book. It's a comic book series, and it revolves around 4 characters, and there's a doctor in there who kind of maintains and studies them essentially. Brendan Fraser is a race car driver who is involved in an accident, and his brain is put into a robot. So he is basically a robot with the brain with still its normal brain. So he has to try to function and do everything as a robot. You've got a person who has like supersonic powers where he's essentially like a spirit, but he has to wear bandages so that way you can see him at all times and he doesn't go loose. It's just a whole bunch of different, like there's different characters to it, and each one has their own story, and you learn about them as the series goes on and how they're connected into basically kind of like an X-Men style universe.
Human brain, robot body, huh?
Yes.
Ugh, I'm already uncomfortable. And speaking of uncomfortable, it was nice to see that Matt had his first costume change of the evening, so
Yes.
or the morning.
I'm in a non-temperature controlled floor of my house, and it's like 30 degrees out, man. It's pretty cold.
Every bit of it.
Brad?
Yeah, so what I'm watching, and I'm a little behind too, but it did happen this year, but is Monsters season 2 on Netflix, which is the story of the Menendez brothers. There's a lot of attention right now in the Menendez brothers. I don't think it's a coincidence that all this stuff is coming out right now when there's talk of a possible release or at least resentencing. I think the show is good. I have been watching Menendez stuff since I've been in high school because I remember it being a very big deal then, and they had like made for TV movies, and it's just something I followed pretty much since I was a teenager, and I've followed these guys' lives. It's a funny thing. The show is unsympathetic and sympathetic to them at the same time. And I've always felt sympathetic to them, even though they killed their parents. I don't know. I just, not that I have good parents, nothing like that, but I just think that whatever happened for real, we don't really know about if they were molested or not, which it really touches on that in this series, is that if
No pun intended.
they were, they were really treated terribly and they felt there was no way out. I really don't think it was for money. I think I've seen enough to know that because they didn't know if they were even in the will. So, anyway, also sympathetic to the fact that Lyle was bald in high school and had his dad forced him to put a
There it
wig.
is.
I started losing my hair when I was in high school, and I did go to the hair club for men when I was a freshman in college, and it was always a very uncomfortable thing for me. It wasn't cool to be bald back when I was going to college. It is a look now more so than ever before. But the show is good and it grabs you. The acting is fantastic, and I recommend it to anybody if you know the story or not. I highly recommend it. So. Matt?
I'm gonna have to check. I know there's a lot of material out there right now about the Menendez. I'm gonna have to check it out. Just haven't gotten to it yet. Yeah. All right. Hatching for me is a series that recently debuted on Amazon Prime Video called Cross. It is about the somewhat well-known character from James Patterson novels, Alex Cross. Um, there were some movies made years ago with Morgan Freeman playing Alex Cross. He's a detective. Um, Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider, which are both pretty good movies. So there's a series now starring Aldous Hodge, who I think is a really excellent actor. Um, he was recently on a series with Kevin Bacon called City on a Hill, which was a Showtime series, which was also like a cop show, which I thought was really fantastic and could have gone on longer than it did. And that's probably where I first saw this guy. He's a great actor. He's beautifully cast in this role, and it's a detective show. There's a serial killer situation in DC, and he's a brilliant detective, but you know he's got his faults as well, right? And it looks like it's going to be the type of show where future seasons will each have their own sort of case. I'm sure there's enough source material from all the novels to do that. I know there's 20 or 30 books or something.
At least.
And I always say this to my wife, like I love a good case. Like if you can get me with, you know, a season long case about something, cop, detective, murder stuff, I love that. Like recently there was Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. I thought that was phenomenal. That was based on old material too. So I would recommend that. It's called Cross. And I'm going to give another honorable mention shout out to a series on Peacock. Brian's not happy that I'm taking up 2 slots here. It's called Based on a True Story, and it's about a podcast team. So I thought it was a little interesting since we just fired up this podcast. It's Kaylee Cuoco. I don't know how to say her name from Big Bang Theory, and a ton of other faces, familiar faces, and pretty good. You know, there's again, this is a lot more lighthearted, even though it is about a serial killer situation, but it's really about the modern day obsession with true crime and how it gets spun into the podcast world. And it's a fun show. It's an easy watch. They're like 20-minute episodes. The whole season is like watching like one long movie, so it's easy to get through.
I did season 2 start?
Season 2 started it. They all dropped the same day, and
Okay, I haven't. I finished season 1.
it did not take me very long to get through season 2 because it's like 2.5 hours worth of content.
So you're not watching it with Sue.
That one I did not watch with her. I think she tried to watch the previous Kaylee Kuko show, which I think was the flight attendant, and she just didn't think too much of it, so she skipped this one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, look who's going off the outline now.
Speaking of, it's time to end the show.
Yes.
It's been a great one.
So let's do it again. Bryant, it is your turn to go down the rabbit hole. We have we have gotten through 3 episodes of No Bryant with Down the Rabbit Hole, but now the time has arrived. Let's do it.
I've been fighting this. Like I'm not good in the starring role here. I like to be a supporting player. I like to just jump in with little jabs and quick whips. And then I finally realized I should probably contribute to the show more than just doing that or the random segment of something. So I figured, you've all been listening. You've all heard the stories that from Brad and from Matt, and I figured it's time that they've shown you kind of their sides and their takes, and I figured I should just jump right in to show you how absolutely crazy I am. And by that, I mentioned it last week, conspiracy theories. We all have one. There's always one that you hear out there, whether it's flat Earth, you hear the moon landing. There's always something out there that everyone will just believe in. No matter what it is, everybody's got one. As Brad shakes his head, there's always something. For me, the one that I somehow fell into, I can't explain it. And I, honestly enough, and that's why this sets up, we just had the anniversary of it. It is the JFK assassination. It is the one theory that everybody believes in, I think, to a degree, or has their own theory of what is going on. It's the most talked about, probably besides the moon landing, of something. And it's had its own spin-offs and it's had its own moments. It wasn't something I fell into, honestly. It was, for me, I had found a movie by Oliver Stone called JFK, starring Kevin Costner. It is a fantastic movie about a guy who tries to take someone to task, Lindsay Shaw, out of New Orleans, as someone for the conspiracy or saying that he was a part of a conspiracy to assassinate JFK. It's the only legal precedent that's been taken, but it's one of those stories that I don't know why as a young kid it hooked me so much, but I think it's just you want to believe that there's always somebody or something going on bigger. Whether it's, and I guess I'll ask this of my fellow eggs, have any of you been to Dallas to see the site where it is?
No, I have not.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, they turned the book depository into a historical museum. It's now a museum where you can actually go up to the 6th floor and look out. In the road, they have 2 X's marked for where the shots were and the shots had taken.
I have a question.
Go for it.
What is a book depository?
It is essentially like a place that it's houses book, like it's the place that ships out all the books. Like you would order all your books through this place. And essentially, like each floor has a different department for whatever books they're doing.
Like an Amazon Fresh store, but it's books.
But it's books. Yes.
There
it is.
All right.
There it is. So when it comes to this story, there's always what people like to call as your crazies who believe, the government or Russia or Cuba or anything like that. But the biggest one is the theory here of the grassy knoll. As everyone can see, it's a picture from the scene of the day of the shooting. There's a brick wall and a second wall that everybody tells is the grassy knoll, where everyone believes the second shooter was. And a lot of people are convinced that that's where a second shooter happened. Most people still want to feel Oswald was the guy to blame, but this is where the shot come, because as of the JFK movie, the back and to the left theory shown from the film, also done by Abraham Zapruder, most people believe that that's where this theory goes. And for me, when it comes to crazy conspiracy theories, this is the one that I always enjoy talking about for some reason. And I usually get the side looks, kind of like I'm getting from you guys. And to me, it's just a topic of conversation because, as I said, everybody has a conspiracy theory. Everybody has something, whether it's a little thing or a big thing. So I will pose this to you. Do you guys believe in something that is off the wall?
So I believe that the Montreal screw job was a work.
No, no, you don't.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Go
No,
for
you
it.
don't.
Because
This is the
Bret
last episode, folks.
Bret Hart. So if for anybody that doesn't know what that is, the Montreal screw job was Bret Hart was leaving the WWF at the time and going to WCW. He did not want to lose the belt on Survivor Series to Shawn Michaels. And we've heard afterwards that he didn't want to lose it in Montreal. He wanted to lose it the next night. And that he was put in, so basically he gave them no choice. So he was put into a what's called a sharpshooter, which is his move by Shawn. He did not tap out. Earl Hebner called for the bell. Uh, Vince McMahon is at the ring, and basically they screwed Bret out of the title. I still believe that Bret is has big enough ego on him that he would alienate friends for years to convince everyone that this was actually what happened, that he was not in on it. He was in on it the whole time. He was paid off very well. And they knew that this was a way to get people talking. And it was also a way to keep him strong for when he went to WCW. It was a way to create new characters. Vince McMahon was not a character before that, really. And I just can't believe for the life of me that they would leave this TV running while he spit on Vince McMahon, and they would allow this film crew that was there. He was filming a movie at the time about himself called Shadows movie. I'm sorry, Bryant, you know
Wrestling with Shadows.
Wrestling with Shadows. There's just too much. There's too many what ifs. I think he was in on it the whole time, and he's big enough he's got enough of an ego on him that he would do something like this, and would make people believe it. But that's not as big as JFK.
But it goes along with the story of like there's always the story out there that is like it seems far-fetched, but you go, no, this is how I think it goes. And that kind of plays into the conspiracy theory aspect of it. So
It
Matt,
might have as much coverage as JFK.
that's true too. Yes.
But Brian, by the way, I'm a big believer in that conspiracy of JFK. There's just too many things going on there.
I haven't seen the it's Oliver Stone, right? You said?
Correct. Yep.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I mean, that's probably came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a Criterion Collection edition of that. Could be wrong. But I would need to revisit that. I have an unformed opinion. So I don't know.
I will say this. If you are interested at all, Brian, if you have not read 11/22/63 by Stephen King,
I have, yes. I was actually going to mention that as well.
It really gets into that with the time travel and everything like that. And it's about as fun of a read as I've ever had on anything.
Yep. And that's the thing with especially something like this. Every conspiracy theory has a book. This is the one conspiracy theory that has the most books written on it. To this point, there's been over 400 books written about just the JFK assassination. And the different theories and what's going on. And then you have your kind of satirical looks like, Brad mentioned, Stephen King wrote a fantastic book, 11/22/63, about someone who finds this wormhole to go back in time to stop it. And what would happen if he stopped it?
Basically what we do on this show.
Yeah. There was also a Quantum Leap episode about that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Scott Bakula. Definitely. I feel like that was like a big deal. It was like two episodes, I think, when that came on. Yeah,
Quantum Leap is awesome.
How about this? How about this side thought? JFK was not the only president of the United States to have been assassinated.
Correct.
It's covered so much that I can't even name the other ones. How bad is that? Can you?
There were two before him.
There was two before? See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. William McKinley and Abraham Lincoln.
Ronald Reagan didn't die. I mean,
he was shot, but
he was shot, I just remember that because I was alive. I mean, you guys
So
probably weren't.
okay, so
Yeah.
besides Abe and besides the two big ones that are well covered, there was another one that was shot and but he wasn't killed. Is that what you're saying?
Ronald Reagan.
There's Reagan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm talking about was killed.
Okay.
Was anyone else killed?
Yeah, it was Lincoln and McKinley. They're the only ones who were shot and killed
So this
in
poor
office.
McKinley guy. I mean, nobody writes books about him.
No, no.
Oh
And his
man.
happened at the World's Fair, which is even crazier. It was in a public space where anything could happen, and that's where he was. That's where he was killed.
So World's Fair, parade, theater, these public events are not safe.
No, no,
For
they're
a
not.
president, I would say not.
For president, I would say not. Yeah,
We have a president elect now that had some very close calls during the
Yeah.
campaigning process, so it is not
yeah,
always good to be out there.
yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's not get flagged. I have a I I have something I wanted to bring up in the conspiracy theory. Uh, I find it very interesting. I'm not saying that I'm like a studier or believer in it per se, but I probably learned about this like a year ago, and it's a little bit of a callback to something that we talked about in episode 1 of Three Eggs Are Better Than One. But have you heard of this specific conspiracy theory in regards to the Titanic? In that it wasn't actually the Titanic that sank. It was the sister ship, I think it was Olympia.
Mhm.
I
And
just heard this.
yeah, and it's not that like it was a setup or it wasn't a real iceberg or like no, the accident really did happen. But prior to that ship setting sail, the ship that was originally there were two ships constructed of the same model, the Titanic and the Olympus. And the Titanic suffered some sort of a devastating you know, accident or something that it needed repairs or something. Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
no, they weren't like in the ocean like people got hurt or anything. But so in an attempt to like do some sort of a insurance swerve, they just like flip flopped the names of the boats because everybody had already signed up to take this Titanic voyage.
Yep.
The ship that everybody got on that met its fate was not actually the boat that was originally named the Titanic. I think that's fascinating because it's
Mhm.
look at what happened. They took this shot and then look what happened. One of the
Yep.
most devastating, memorable moments in history. You know,
That's very interesting.
I think so.
And that's the thing with conspiracy theories, though, is there's always it's a story that kind of like that. It captures your interest, and you just want to look into. It's that intrigue to make you dive in a little more. And then you always have, obviously they'll give you your opinion, but you come up with what you think, and there's always something out there on something that you don't expect. Kind of like that with the Titanic. You have them, and then like I said, the popular ones, your moon landings, your flat Earth. There's some out there where people talk about zombies are real and are actually out there and can get us. You have Area 51, things like that that always hook you. And no
Hmm.
matter what you go on, it's always a conversation. It's always a debate. There's always something more to it. And I don't dive into them a lot. I don't believe in a lot, but there are some that are just fascinating. And I think they're just fun to talk about. So,
And if there's any eggs listeners out there in Eggland that have any they want us to discuss, just let us know. We'll look into it.
yeah,
We
we'll
definitely
dive
will.
down the rabbit hole on whatever we need to here. So on that note, that's it for me. Back to you, Brad.
So originally, this was going to be eggnog, and I actually did change the outline. I don't know if you guys saw. Eggnog is the community pages, and what it is I have local community pages basically on Facebook that they're just so obnoxious. You ask a question on there, and basically everybody just rips you to shreds. I'm just not feeling it, right? I'm just not feeling it right now. Reading this stuff actually like it actually wants me to up my medication sometimes because it's just so rude. Okay, so I changed it up for the day, and we're gonna go back to the duck eggs, which is obscure facts. Now, as I was traveling to Ohio and to my parents in Western Pennsylvania, we take Route 80. So Route 80 at about the 200 and I don't know 12 or 10 marker. Maybe I'm a little off on that. There is a town called Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. I've commented on it, I think about every time I drive by it. Because what the hell is this? Like, why is it? We're in the middle of the mountains of Pennsylvania, and there is a town called, I don't know if a city, town, whatever, called Jersey Shore. So I looked into it because I needed to know finally. So this comes from Hidden History, from Pennsylvania. The town of Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania got its name from a joke made by early settlers who were teasing the New Jersey residents who settled in the area. The town was originally named Waynesburg by brothers Reuben and Jeremiah Manning, who settled there in 1785. Around the same time, a settlement called the Nippenose Township developed on the eastern side of the Susquehanna River. The people of Nippenose, that's a tough one, Nippenose Township began calling the western shore the Jersey Shore, and it is in quotes, because of the Manning's New Jersey origins. The nickname became so popular that in 1826, the name of the town was officially changed from Waynesburg to Jersey Shore. The name was changed was a way to make fun of New Jersey residents who had settled in the area. So that's it. Who knew the people in the
Wow.
1800s had a sense of humor?
Jersey getting shit on a long time ago. Wow.
I just want to know, like, I never could figure it out. Like, where in the world? This is a cold area of Pennsylvania, and I like in the mountains. There's no shore.
There's no Jersey and there's no shore.
There's no Jersey.
Yeah.
Another right up that mile 200 is a place called Mile Run, and you know what Mile Run says? No services below it. I'm not going there because that sounds
That sounds terrible.
stuffed.
I need services.
Yeah, I need service. I need
I
to be
need
able to go in that town. I'm picturing like a gas station that's closed, and that's it.
Well, that sounds like how you start a horror movie as
Exactly.
well.
Texas
100%.
Chainsaw Massacre
Well,
ish.
let's just stop there anyway. Let's just stop there. They must have something.
My fear is a flat tire there.
Mhm.
Every time, I'm like, let's just get past this mile run, and then we get to the Jersey Shore. But I thought that was really funny that it basically it was a joke, and they just kept the name. 1800s sense of humor. Who would have thought? So
That is a great duck egg because I have driven by there. Route 80 actually goes through the town that I grew up in Jersey. And of course it goes east west all the way across the country to I think San Francisco because I think I've actually been on the road in San Francisco as well, which is crazy to be. I'm like I could literally drive on this road and go back to like my hometown. I'm
yeah,
3,000 miles away.
80's amazing.
But that is interesting. I've passed that many times. We could do a whole episode on weird town names like that because I drive by some. You go 95 south, Brad. I'm sure you've done that towards Florida. You pass by some shit.
Pennsylvania's got some crazy names. There's Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Intercourse.
There's Moon Township. Mars, PA is in Moon Township.
Yeah.
What? So anyway, that's it for the duck eggs this week. I'm gonna go ahead and knock it over to you, Matt, for the socials.
Okay. We are the Three Eggs Are Better Than One podcast. We're cooking up every Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Find us on YouTube at Three Eggs Are Better Than One. That's the number 3, the letter R, the number 1. Follow us on X and Blue Sky at Three Eggs Are Better, the number 3, the letter R, and also at Yes Man Brad, at B Haremza, and I am at Purple Shirt Guy without the I. And now I'm going to tell you about next week's episode. Next week, I am going to be asking us some questions. Some unnecessary questions. I might ask, when you order Chinese food and you're eating that takeout at home, do you eat it right out of the carton like they do on TV, or do you put it on a plate? We're going to be talking about heavy-hitting questions like that, or why does the paperboy throw the newspaper into my driveway instead of like by my front door? We're going to be talking about very important and unnecessary questions like that.
Yeah, the most unnecessary one is you still get a newspaper. But anyway, that's for another show.
That's for next week.
So Bryant, take us home.
Well, we thank you guys for joining us, following down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, hearing about how Brad gets hard boiled, and listening to Matt as he likes to tell us about some stories and some moments that might not be known about. We thank you guys. We hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and thank you for spending time with us. The egg timer's been set. We'll see you guys next week.